Hey everyone, welcome to Monday Mornings with Dr. Nick, Authentic Leadership in Action. I'm your host, Dr. Nick Davies, and I'm on a quest to learn as much as I can about leadership, specifically School of Leadership. Each week, I meet with leaders across the country and then summarize those meetings in short articles, videos, and a podcast. This right here is a short form podcast on leadership intended to give you tips and advice that you can use in your schools right away. I love the challenges that come with leadership, and I love talking with leaders about their journeys. I'll use everything I learned to continue my personal mission of having a positive impact on people's lives so they can become the best of which they're capable of becoming. So ready or not, here we go into this week's topic. All right, here we are in episode number 2. The focus this week is my conversation with Principal Doug Kaplicky. He is a Washington notable principal, someone that those of us in the state of Washington, we know of him very well. He is a multiple-time Principal of the Year. He left being a principal for a short amount of time, and he became an internationally known speaker, and now he is back in the state of Washington as a principal of an elementary school. He is doing a lot of other stuff outside of his daily principal job. And so, Doug, we are just waiting for your book to see what comes out there. No pressure, but we're waiting for it. We connected through a mutual contact, and I had his number, gave him a call early one Friday morning and said hi, and just boom, he just jumped right into everything I wanted to know. I have a series of questions I always ask leaders, and he hit them without me even having to ask. He had a good feeling of where I was going, what I wanted to hear, and it was just a fantastic resource. So 3 areas that I really pulled from my conversation with Doug: service, support, and promotion. So let's dive into each of those 3 areas in a little bit more. So service. Doug talked about that in education a lot, right? And it's a service industry. Those of us who become educators, we know we are here to serve students. That is our primary purpose, and we need to keep it that. He stated it as the blueprint is to help others. I love that phrase. I'm going to start using it for myself. I will give him credit, but the blueprint is to help others. That is what we should be doing every day in education. If as principals, we're helping teachers, we're helping students, we're helping family members, we're even helping community members sometimes when they're around our campus or volunteering or anything like that. But that's what it's all about. And so in that, the helping others, he encouraged me to reach out to people because people in our positions want to help each other. So he encouraged me to do what I'm doing right now. Reach out to other leaders, ask them how are they doing their things, what systems do they have in place, those types of questions to learn from them. The next key to our conversation was support. Now, similar to service in that principals support the kids, support the teachers, support the community that they work in. But at the same time, principals themselves need support. You can't go it alone in this profession, although oftentimes it feels like you can be on an island, especially at the elementary level where many principals are the only administrator in the building. It really does feel like an island. So part of this support, though, is you need a support of your colleagues, your fellow administrators, whether it's in your district or outside in your own personal PLC or mastermind or something like that. You need that support, but you also need the support of your family. So you can't let your personal ambition take over your family life. Doug challenged me to always coach my kids in sports. I recently coached some youth soccer this past fall, which is something I had never done before. I don't have a background in soccer, but it was a lot of fun to get to spend time with one of my kids and their friends in a different environment. And Doug was not the first person to encourage me that. When I first became an administrator years ago, my principal at the time, that was one of the first things he told me is when your kids are old enough, always coach them. Make sure you have that time. And I've had many other people encourage me to do that as well. Lastly, you need to make sure when it comes to support, you have your priorities straight. If family is your top priority, then you need to actually make sure that you're giving them the support that they need, and you can't just let this job take over. Now, that comment right there is a book in and of itself. It's at least a podcast episode in and of itself. But you need to be true to that. If you have a value, then you need to make sure that you're supporting that with your work. And then last thing we talked about was promotion. So this is just depending on your ambitions. But if you want to go beyond that principalship, or even just go from assistant principal to principalship, you need to be able to promote yourself. Now, that said, you don't want to make it all about you. As many leaders have told me, it needs to be about other people. This is a service-oriented business, right, in education. And so it can't be about you. So when you are promoting, promote your content, right? Promote your articles, promote your podcasts, promote your videos, promote what you're doing, promote what the kids in your building are doing, promote what your teachers are doing. Don't make it about you, make it about your content, make it about others, and that will in turn promote yourself as well. It does become important, though, to know people around you, know your network, especially if you want to move districts, because you do have to get known. People need to know who you are, so you can have that greater impact. So last thing he kind of encouraged me to do is play around with a staff newsletter. Use that potentially as like a sounding board for potential content you might share out, or just to get a feel for how your staff is doing. So a weekly staff newsletter that just goes to them, try out some things, or send them some thoughts that you have on education, get a conversation going with them. And it can be a great way just to kind of play around and see how things, test the waters, so to speak, see how things might land with a group of educators that you know really well. Lastly, Doug gave me a few books to consider reading. Culturized by Jimmy Casas. I just finished that one. Fantastic book. Teaching Matters by Todd Whitaker and Beth Whitaker, and You Are Number One by Holly Blair and Rick Jetter. So I'll have to make sure I get my hands on those other books I haven't read yet. Doug, it was a fantastic conversation. I learned a ton. Was great to get to talk to you and get to know you. And I know we'll see each other around, as we are both local Washington principals. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please rate and review this episode on whatever platform you use to listen to it. And be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Who in your network do you know that could benefit from the message from today? Please share this with them. If you want to talk more about this topic or any others I've talked about in the past, reach out to me through LinkedIn. You can find me, Nick Davies, PhD. We see each other again next week. Thanks.